Hello, folks. It's Colin Maxwell again with a creator interview for the Brewgooders podcast. So, welcome. And we have our guest here this time round is Steven Ingram, well known in the comic scene in Scotland and certainly around Comic Cons. So, no stranger to the comic scene here. So, Steven, you've got a new Kickstarter on just now, but you've also started a kind of new sideline to making your own comics, which is Third Bear Press. So, first of all, can you tell us a wee bit about that?
Sure. Third Bear Press is my new thing. It's like a publisher / distro as well. For like the distro side, what I've been doing is bringing over international indie comics from around the world to make them available here in the UK. So stuff from like the States and Canada and a few European comics and stuff as well. A couple of Australian ones I've had.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all to cut down on like the regular comic fan who wanted to buy something from outside the UK, so they don't have to pay like massive shipping fees if they buy it from us, which is a good, hopefully a good way to do things. Because I what kind of made me want to do that was like wanting to buy some like books from the States myself. Like you put one copy of 24-page indie comic into your basket, and then it's like, oh, you're going to pay £20 shipping to get it sent.
Yeah.
So I figured if I can get 20 or 30 copies sent over in bulk, then I can sell them here for like to sell them here so that people don't have to pay as much shipping to buy.
Yeah. Well, it's great, and it does mean that when you're at a Comic Con, you've got a table full of books, and clearly, quite a lot of them are these ones that you're bringing in from abroad, and that must be great for those creators because they're getting to see, their stuff is going way beyond their normal reach, perhaps.
I mean, there's certainly some of them. You might occasionally find them in like Gosh Comics in London, but there's not many other places in the UK that tend to stock stuff like that, like a lot very often. So yeah, there's like a very done that stock them like consistently. So that's what I'm aiming to do with that side of Third Bear Press, to have like a consistent I've like always have some books from like outside the UK and stuff, which hopefully provide like a good mix of styles. And
so, are you kind of curating that then? Are you going out looking for specific books, or how does somebody's book end up on your table at, say, Glasgow Comic Con?
Yeah, I've been kind of going out and looking for books in particular. I've like found like a few indie publishers in the States that I've been using, like Golden Press and Strangers Publishing, and some stuff from Silver Sprocket as well. They're usually pretty good. And also some creators have got in touch with me to ask whether we could do something to get their books sent over. So and I've been able to work out some things with them to get like books from individual creators rather than indie publishers too. So
I see. Yeah.
Having for anyone, but they can get in touch with me.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me a little bit that this is kind of quite an innovative thing that and perhaps there are other people who do this kind of thing, but I'm certainly not aware of it. But then my sphere of knowledge is kind of limited to Comic Cons pretty much in Scotland. So whether it happens elsewhere or not, I don't know. I'm wondering, I know it's early days for you and you've only had a few Comic Cons where you've been doing this, but what's been the reception so far?
Reception's been pretty good, particularly at Comic Cons. I've been like previously, like how I'm doing it now. My table is like half of my own stuff and half books from the Third Bear Press distro. and it's been going pretty well. I tend to sell like half my stuff and then half again of the distro stuff. So it's been the last few shows. So it's been a good, there's been a good interest in it.
I see. So do you have to kind of have a kind of in-depth knowledge of the books then, so that you can kind of sell them if you like, if you've got a dozen books? So how do you keep track of that? I find it difficult just to keep track of my own books, let alone,
Yeah, I make sure I try and make sure I read all the books that I bring in. Yeah. So that I know what they're about, and sometimes I can exchange a few emails and stuff with creators as well. And so you've got an idea of what the books are about, a little bit about the people behind them or the publishers behind them. And then, you can I could probably have a little conversation about most of the books on the table.
I see. Okay. Right. So, Third Beer Press is kind of up and running, and you're doing that side of things, Comic Cons and delivering these books to kind of a new audience. But you've also got a Kickstarter for your first publication under that title. So tell us a wee bit about that.
Yeah, right. Well, the goal with Third Bear Press was always to publish other people's work. And the distro side of it is, I suppose, more to get the brand of Third Bear Press up and running in people's minds. And then getting our first publication together is like a big sort of milestone for me. This is what Third Bear Press has always been, what we've been building towards.
I see.
So our first publication is like a new comic magazine, which I think is going to be something that's maybe been needed in the sort of UK-wide comic scene for a while. Is like a new regular magazine, like anthology magazine style, that showcases new short comics from like the most exciting creators in the UK.
So very much focused on kind of small press indie creators, I guess.
Yeah. That's for sure. So the appeal of it is definitely indie comics. I don't know if you ever read the Fantagraphic collections like Moan, which from a few years ago. That's the kind of vibe I'm going for with it.
I see.
So that collection of exciting, interesting indie creators with their individual voices.
Okay. Well, let's have a little look at the Kickstarter page, because it's up just now. So let's just pop that up on the screen there. So it's called Boxes, is this anthology or this comic magazine, as you've described it there. It's only been on Kickstarter a few days, so it looks as though you're doing pretty well there so far. 25 days to go.
Yeah, decent start.
Yeah, a good start, and a decent number of backers there as well. So just having a quick flick through this, we've got all the creators there listed. I presume that's the cover. There's a couple, certainly a couple of names in there that I recognise, particularly from kind of Scottish Comic Cons, Bob Turner, Julie Campbell there, and that immediately tells me, even just knowing those two names, that there's a bit of quite a mix of different stuff there, because I know Bob's very much into his silent comics, and they're really cleverly put together. Death Rattle is the one that springs to mind.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Bob's work. So
very
pleased that he agreed to be part of it.
Yeah, very clever stuff. Kind of minimalist drawing style, no words, just incredible how he gets a kind of story across. By using so little of the tools available, to a comics artist. So always intrigued to see what Bob's doing. Julie Campbell, who I happen to have just finished a comic with. Julie is very much inspired by nature. Her books, her drawing is, it's animals, it's landscapes, it's people's effects on nature and the environment. So again, quite a different kind of set of stuff. But can you tell me perhaps about some of the other creators there that perhaps, certainly I'm less familiar with?
Sure, yeah, there's you're scrolling down there.
Yeah.
Kind of on Mark Brady's Southside Cash Money Concept Club.
Mm-hmm.
He's an artist from Glasgow, and I've been friends with for a while. And he's always got like he's working on something with, do you know Craig Collins? He's a Glasgow
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're currently working on stuff together. But Mark's taken time out for that to do like a solo comic for us for boxes.
Yeah, I see.
And his stuff's always got like a really fun sense of humor and really engaging looking characters. And as you can see his art style on the screen here, it's really like sort of fun, cartoony, and colourful. Yeah, I like his work a lot.
Yeah, oh great, yeah. So it certainly looks exciting stuff there. This is quite different. This is, as far as I was aware, because I'd read this before, it comes from Italy. So this is Enrico.
Is an Italian artist. He lives in London.
I see.
And travels with Captain Ishmael. You can see he's got a really nice cartoony style, but also the writing in it is really like satirical. It's like a collection of like one-page strips about the travels of these two characters, the captain and the lad, and then they go around all these islands, which all like have a critique of different aspects of modern life. The island, they've gone to like an island and they've really like gone to town on a specific aspect of life. And
I see.
Take it to an extreme, and it's like it's a bad thing to take it to extremes, for example. Yeah, it's got a really a good sense of humor, and it's really like nice and satirical. It's good.
Okay, great. Yeah, that sounds interesting as well. We've got Sammy Ward here.
Yeah, Sammy Ward. She's an artist from England, and she's been making some really good like short horror comics or like ghost folklore type comics.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That she's been doing on her Ko-fi account called Hauntings. And the one that she's done for Box is in like a similar style, but more, I'd say a bit more emotionally involved, I would say.
Okay.
I was reading like the finished story of this one. I got a real sense of like renewed purpose at the end. So it's like a really nice short story, a really good payoff.
I see. Okay. This one intrigued me. This is Stephen Goodall. It says the story is called Freitag Lane. Now, if you're a writer, then you know who Gustav Freitag is, who came up with the idea of the kind of pyramid storytelling, of diagram, the inciting incident, the rising action, the climax, etc. Yeah. So I'm intrigued to know if perhaps that has some bearing on the story here.
Well, Freitag Lane, like Stephen is a creator I've been friends with a while. I used to go to the Edinburgh League of Comics meetups with him, but he's been kind of silent on the comics front for a couple of years, so it's been quite good to get him. I was quite pleased to tempt him back to comics. Make a wee strip for us. And Freitag Lane is about are you aware of like the kind of it's like they're trap streets that appear on maps. They're ones that are put on maps by like map makers. They're like fake streets. So you take like the idea of those ones, and it's like a person who's been invited to one of these trap streets. And it's got a real sort of urban weirdness feel to the story. It's a fun little horror story. I think if you enjoy weird horror, you quite like the story.
Oh, okay. That does sound rather interesting too. Very intriguing. Here's Bob Turner stuff. As well as being kind of minimalist in his style, he also is not a big fan of vowels either. And that his books Flood and Death Rattle have no vowels in the titles.
Although like the story for this one's called Providence, but it's not. We've included the vowels in the title of this one.
Yeah,
step forward for
interesting to see maybe a slightly different style as well for Bob here. Colourful and these kind of glyphs and icons around there. I'm sure I'll have some meaning in the story. Won't go too deep into that one just now. Let's pop onto the.
Yeah, you're interested in Bob's take on silent comics. He's also writing an essay for the magazine as well.
Ah, right.
Like the history of silent comics and why he chooses to make them like that. So,
so I did see on the Kickstarter that there is a sort of essay which we will see coming up just shortly. So here we are. This is an ex-creator, Beck Kubrick.
Yeah, Beck Kubrick is another English artist. I first came across their work they were kickstarted a comic called Kobe Alone, which was about like a kid surviving in a sort of post-apocalypse kind of world. And we've got like a really interesting art style. I just really enjoy the work. It's got like a kind of like teen drama vibe to it, but she often quite works in an apocalypse kind of environment. And it's got a good feel to it in that sense.
Are these kind of one and done stories, or are these things that are going to be continuing stories?
They're all one and done.
Okay. Right. Okay, so we've got this person here, Christian Porter, multimedia artist. Yeah. So I'm guessing that they work in, I don't know. Would you tell me what you know about them?
Yeah, he's a Glasgow-based artist. I hadn't heard of him before, like he submitted stuff in boxes, but I was really taken with his art style. Yeah. And his story also has like a quite whimsical sense of humor, which really appealed to me. So, you can see like from his art style, it's got like quite a painterly look to it, but it's still very stylized.
Yeah, all the kind of patterns and things when you look deep into it.
Yeah. And the story is like that, him looking up and seeing this red-haired girl flying a kite, and then when he goes up to try and meet her, finds out it's actually something a bit weirder that she's doing.
Okay. Moving on again, quite a distinct change in style here. Sure. Dark, black and white, cross-hatching, and it does look as though it's some kind of horror kind of story, perhaps.
Yeah, like Mason Wilson, he's another artist that I didn't know before he sent me stuff for boxes. And then it's a new artist, like just not long out of university, I think. But he's like, really quite taken with his style. It's got like a childlike look to it, like the characters, but in a sort of nice, creepy way that I really liked. And like this cross-section and kind of got to weird little horror story vibe to the story.
It's got a kind of childlike dream or nightmare kind of feel to it, just from that one kind of picture there. Yeah.
Taking like inspiration from like stories about changelings.
I see.
People getting replaced by things that aren't
Okay.
Really good. Yeah.
So you alluded to there being like essays in this in Box's comic magazine, and here we are, Alistair Black, who is writing about aging in comics. So that's interesting. I
thought it had like a couple of essay proposals sent to me, and this is one that really stood out as the most interesting kind of topic. It's something that like as he says in the quote there, it's not something that gets tackled a lot in comics, unless so when it does, it's very interesting to look at and see like how they tackled the art style, like how they tackled the story, how they tackled something that you might know a familiar character being able to do all these feats of physical feats, and then how do you portray them coping with maybe not being able to do as many physical feats as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thing that's maybe not explored enough in comics.
Yeah, but perhaps not, because we know that kind of mainstream comics, and when I say mainstream, I mean like superhero comics, are just constantly reinventing and for coming up with new ways of kind of regenerating their characters.
Yeah.
So that they're, because, they've been around since the 30s and they're still, youngsters, etc. So, it's a constant, trying to explain that, which kind of annoys me a bit about superhero comics. I always feel like, why can't they just get somebody else to take on the role, or or that kind of thing.
Or they just end.
Or they just end. Yeah. But I guess, as it says there, what use is a dead piece of intellectual property? Let's milk it for what we can.
Dead Batman makes no money.
Indeed. Right. Okay. So, Steve Thompson here.
I don't know if you're aware of Steve's work at all. He I think he's probably best known for the editing of a book called like 24 Panels of Image Comics a few years ago. And he's done a few other stories that mostly like kind of, as we call them, noir thrillers, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting to get like a proposal from him, which is like an interesting bit of autobiography and telling us the story of an ear operation that you had when you were a child.
Oh, I see.
Wishes he didn't have. So it's quite a different kind of story from him. Very interesting.
And like a different kind of from the other stories as well that's in the book. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fabulous. Julie Campbell I mentioned before, so I would expect to see some animals or nature in there. So
she's quite proud of these birds. So it's a lovely little story that she's written. It's like really quite thoughtful, and she also like focuses on nature, but it's also got a really human aspect to it as well, which is
lovely.
Which is good.
And then there's this chap called Steven Ingram.
I don't know how he got in my scene, but I've got one of my own comics in there.
So night swimming. Okay, interesting for me. Night swimming sounds terrifying to me. Going out into a loch or sea at night. I've been in an outdoor swimming pool in the middle of nowhere at night, and it was quite an interesting experience because you're kind of swimming under the stars, and it's so quiet, and it was almost like you were kind of just floating in the darkness. It's kind of a weird thing. So I'm intrigued to see where this one goes.
That is the kind of like feelings I'm trying to evoke with this. I suppose it's all also going back to like Bob's stuff. This is also like an experiment for me in silent comics as well.
Okay.
It's I'm using the kind of like when I did my graphic novel with Holly, I kept like an 8-panel grid style, like page layouts, and I'm doing the same with this one because
okay.
I think it's sort of gives interest in.
So, do you feel this is
the writing?
Do you feel this could be a kind of thing for Third Bear Press, is kind of having some experimental work and showcasing that kind of thing?
Yeah. What I'd like for future editions of boxes is like, assuming this one's successful, I'll be opening like submissions again to for boxes 2 not long after this one comes out. What I'd really like to see from people submitting stuff to it is maybe doing something that's be outside their comfort zone, where they're going to experiment with their style a bit. Which could be, because when you're doing that, you can either end up with something amazing, or you can end up with something.
I totally agree. That just doing something, out with what you normally do is, it gives you that extra little challenge, doesn't it? I know, cause as you know, war stories are kind of my thing, or history books, but occasionally, dabble in a bit of sci-fi or horror and things, but that's just an occasional kind of sideline. But I quite enjoy doing it, because it is just taking me in a slightly different direction. Though, people tend to get pigeonholed a little bit. And then, there's stuff that goes outside of that tends not to be as popular.
But I think if doing stuff that's maybe outside your comfort zone that might not be as popular with your audience can be a useful learning experience that you can
absolutely
bring back into your regulars.
As a writer or artist, I'm sure it would be. It's just to kind of go somewhere else, take your mind into different places. Is going to help.
Recharge your batteries a bit.
Yeah, perhaps. So 72 pages, so a decent sized book there. So it gives us a bit of an idea about kind of what that's going to be like. Rewards are going to include some prints and things from the various artists, which look great. You have a third Bear Press tote bag. To carry all your books that you've picked up off your table. And then obviously we'll see if there are any stretch goals or things in the future.
The stretch goals are basically more money for the creators.
That's great, And let's face it, that's where stretch goals should be, let's face it. Rather than getting, a sticker that you're going to end up, I don't know, throwing in a box. Someone
your sketchbook or something.
So that would be that's great if it's going back to the creators, and kind of pay them properly. So brilliant. Right. So I'll just stop sharing that for the moment. So can only say I hope that it goes well. It looks to be doing pretty well at the moment. And obviously once this goes out, we'll be sharing the link to it, and hopefully a few more people will get on board.
That would be very nice.
Okay, right. So thanks very much again for joining us, Steven. One last thing, though, I want to ask is, once this is done, what's next?
Well, what's next for Third Bear Press would be moving on to boxes 2, and also I'd probably be opening up submissions for some single creator books. Next year I'd really quite like to bring out a wee range of single issue books, which would be quite good to have for next year.
Oh, okay.
And then for me, I've got a wee strip that I'm working on, but it's in the early stages. So
I see. Okay.
I don't say too much yet.
Where are people likely to find you? You got any Comic Cons events coming up anytime soon?
I'm going to be at Thought Bubble for sure.
Okay.
And there's a couple other ones I've applied to yet, but we don't know.
I see. But definitely Thought Bubble.
It's been announced, but Thought Bubble for sure.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thanks again, Steven. And we'll keep an eye on that Kickstarter and see how it goes. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Cheers.
Good to see you. Cheers.